Hey guys, it's Jake here with eTrailer. Today we have a 2019 Ram 3500 and we're going to be taking a look at and I'm going to show you how to install the Roadmaster Diode wiring kit. When planning on flat towing your Ram down the road behind your motorhome, there are 5 main flat towing components that you are definitely going to need and one that you might need. We ended up needing it here, so I'll show you what it is. But the 5 main flat towing components are going to be your base plate, your tow bar, your safety cables, some sort of supplemental braking system, and then your diode wiring. The one additional part that you might need, and it's all going to depend on how your vehicle interacts with your RV, is going to be a high-low adapter. You want your tow bar to be within 3 inches of level. For example, we needed a high-low adapter here because the measurement from the ground to the center of our hitchman hole on where our tow bar meets our base plate is going to be 23.5 inches. And then on the RV, from the ground to the center of the hitch pin on our hitch is going to be 19.5 inches. So that's 4 inches of difference. We were an inch out of that range, that 3-inch range. So we got a 2-inch high-low adapter, flipped it over so it's a 2-inch rise on our hitch, and now we're within that 3-inch range. Diode wiring is designed to get the signals from the back of your motorhome to the back of your taillights on your vehicle. Think of it a lot like when you're pulling a trailer, you have to be able to get the lighting signals from your vehicle to the back of the trailer. That's the same thing here. When you're pulling your vehicle down the road with 4 wheels on the ground, you have to be able to tell others what you're doing and what your intentions are. Whether you're hitting the brakes, you just have your running lights on at night, whether you're wanting to change into another lane, it's the same thing as a trailer. You cannot just have a big dark vehicle behind your RV and expect others to see it. That's where these come into play, and they are going to help to protect your wiring on your vehicle and on your motorhome while doing it. When it comes to flat towing your vehicle down the road and lighting options for it, there are a couple other options out there that are more or option. It's going to be your magnetic lights. I personally don't like those. One, because a lot of vehicles out there on the market are aluminum now, or they're fiberglass or whatever they're made of. I don't like them because I don't like putting a magnet on our vehicle to potentially scratch the paint on it. The other thing with those lights is you have to run a 4-pole wire over top of your vehicle every time you go to use it. They have wireless lights, but those have to be charged or the batteries have to be replaced. It's just too much to have to hassle with. The other thing is a lot of people still like that traditional bulb and socket installation, which is essentially the same thing that we're installing here, except you have to drill a hole in the back of the taillight. And for this particular taillight, you couldn't do that on because it's a board for the LED taillight. So you will have to tap into factory wiring, and that is the biggest thing that scares people when doing this kit. That there's no harm to the wiring. You can always, if you ever decide to take this kit back out, I highly recommend just leaving it in there. It doesn't do any harm having it in there, but you can always take your factory wires and put them back together if you need to. Now we're up at the front of the vehicle. This particular kit that we installed today is going to come with the 6-pole plug on the front and the umbilical cord. If you already have an umbilical cord and you don't want to have to worry about picking that up, there's 3 different variants of how you can get this kit. One is going to have everything like we installed today. One is going to have just the 4-pole wiring and the diodes in it. And then you can get another one to where you just add the 6-pole plug on it if you've already got your umbilical cord. Lots of tow bars will come with a umbilical cord separately, or in the example of like a Roadmaster Nighthawk, I really like that tow bar just in general because it's a great tow bar. It's got a good high rating on it. It's got LED lights on the sides of it. It has the safety cables and the umbilical cord built into the side of it, so you don't have this hanging down or this hanging down like this. So if you're starting out fresh, I highly recommend that because it's going to come with that umbilical and the 6-pole plug that you need to get connected. As far as the installation goes, this install is really not too bad. It's definitely one you could do at home. I'd say probably the hardest part about it is getting the 4-pole wire from the front of our vehicle to the back. But hopefully with my help, you should be able to get it done pretty easily. We just ran it through the frame rail from the front of our vehicle all the way to the back. And we popped out of the end and went up into our taillight. You will have to, like I said earlier, you are going to have to tap into those factory wires. Not a huge deal. I'm going to show you the wires that we used on this. They might be the same on your vehicle. Chances are if you have a 19, they probably will be. But I still highly recommend, even if your wires are in the same spot that mine are here, I highly recommend checking them with a 12-volt meter to make sure that those functions are there. We're going to look for the running light signal and the stop and turn signal. I recommend checking it because the reason I say that is because I have done 219s and the wires are in different spots on the plug. So I'd hate to see you cut into a factory wire and it not be the right one. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the install. For a 6-pole wiring bracket, I found a really cool place to put this. What I did was up underneath here, there's a little stud up on top of it. You're just gonna take the 10mm nut off, and that allows you to pull this plastic down. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slide this bracket over, and then by looking through this bracket, you're gonna see the little area we may have to trim. I don't know if we will actually, because we should be able to bend it up just the slightest bit, but this is where our 6-pole bracket will go. Eventually mount the 6-pole to it. But what I like to do is kind of square it up with the front of the truck, and then we can take our self-tapping screws and we're going to run this up into the bumper. To begin our installation, we're going to need to get our 4-pole wire from the front of our vehicle all the way to the back. And the way that I did this is actually pretty simple. I just tied it off here with a zip tie so that we have it when we go to put our 6-pole on and we don't accidentally pull it back through too far. Ran it through here, through this air intake area. I found a little gap in it and I was able to run it back here and then got inside the frame and ran it all the way to the back of the vehicle inside of the frame. On the sides of our frame rail, you'll see these holes. They're openings big enough to be able to fit your finger in there and grab that. We just use a small section of airline tube. You can use some out of your, if you are putting an Air Force One on here, those come with airline tube, or you can use actually a metal coat hanger works out really well too. You can also use a fish tape. If you have an electrician's fish tape, you might be able to actually go all the way back to the back. But if you fish it out of there, kind of stitch it back in and then get to the next access hole, which you can see I use this one here. Again, fish it out, fish it back in, and then once you get to the back of the frame, the end of our frame rail is open, which works out really, really nice. We can take our line here now and go up into the driver's side taillight. Now at the back of our taillights, we need to take our taillights out. We'll take a T25 Torx bit, remove the 2 screws that are holding it in. Typically with these taillights, you just pop it out this side and then we'll have to pull straight back to get it to release from the clips. Just like that. For the wiring, we've got this little red tab. Pop it back with your finger, push on the black tab, and then get that to pull out. Now we've got our wiring kind of stripped back here. You want to just take this factory wire loom off. It is nice that they give it to you, but we're only going to need 2 wires out of this, so we'll take the rest and put it back in the loom. The wires that we're going to need, if you're looking at the plug like this with the red tab on top, are going to be the top 2 right wires. It's going to be the white wire with the orange stripe and the white wire with the green stripe. The running light signal is going to be the orange stripe, and the stop and turn signal is going to be our green stripe. What we need to do is we'll take our wires, cut them both. We're going to strip all 4 of these ends back and start getting our diodes connected. With our wires stripped back and the ends twisted, we're going to take our spade terminal ends and we need to crimp one on each one of the ends. Now we're going to take our 4-pole wire. We're going to fish it up through the opening in the bottom of our bed here. Get that pulled out through our taillight housing. And once we get it up here, I usually like to take a zip tie, tie it off here so our wire doesn't fall back in there. On our driver's side, we're going to need to use the brown and yellow wire. We'll get these stripped back. Like that. The yellow wire is still going to get a blue spade terminal, But the brown wire, we're going to have to make a jumper wire to go over to the passenger side of the vehicle in the taillight housing. So we're going to have to tie another brown wire in here. That's why the yellow spay terminal is a lot bigger. Now for our brown connection, like I said, we're going to take a jumper wire so that we can have enough to go over to the passenger side. We've got all of our connections made now. We need to just plug them into our diodes. So we'll just start with one wire. Let's start with the orange one. We know that's our running light wire. That's going to go, the out on our diode is going to go to the plug. And our running light signal is going to be this brown wire. Connect that up there. And then this other inlet is for our factory wire to go back in. So as you can see here, this is the easiest explanation, is that if we want our taillights to get the signal from our vehicle up by the driver's seat, it'll send it through this wire. If we want it to come from the motorhome through our 6-pole, it's going to come through this wire. We're going to repeat that process with the other diode for this side. And then eventually what I'm going to do is take this adhesive tape off the back and stick them to each other, and then wrap them up with tape once we know everything's working. But now that we've got this connected, I'm going to take our green and our brown wire. Just find some extra wire laying around. You can pick some extra up on our website if you don't have any. But you should only need about, I'd say 10 feet would definitely get you to the other side. We don't have a whole lot extra wire left over because this truck is so long. But we'll take these two wires, run them over to the other side, and we'll meet you there. Now we've got our wires up into the passenger side taillight housing. Don't let this wire confuse you. This is just the spare wire I had laying around. This is actually our green wire. But we'll get our diodes connected just like we did on the other side. Then grab your ring terminal from your kit. We're going to strip back our white wire from our 4-pole. And I'm just going to ground this back here. Find a good place that's out of the way. This should be far enough out of the way. We'll ground it right here. Then temporarily just toss your taillights back on so they don't fall off. And then we're going to run up to the 6-pole at the front of our truck and get that hooked up. Now we're going to run through our basic functions to make sure that our diode wiring is working properly. Start off with our taillights, our left turn signal, our brake lights, and our right turn signal. To get our 6-pole hooked up and put on here permanently, we'll just slide our boot on. Do not forget this step. I've done it a lot of times. It's very frustrating once you get everything connected, and if you use silicone on the back side of this plug like we're going to do, it's very frustrating to have to take everything back off to get that boot back on. We're going to start here at the top of the plug, so the plug opens like this. I'll just rotate it this way. This spot right here is going to be our brown wire, then our white wire, then our yellow, then the green. If you're doing a charge line, which on this vehicle you shouldn't have to, but depending on what braking system you're using, you may have to. That is the center pin on this. And we're going to grab some black RTV silicone. We've got this on our website if you want to do the same. I highly recommend it because it's going to keep your connections nice and clean. If this starts getting corroded, which it happens almost instantly, these terminals here will start to connect just from the corrosion and a little bit of moisture. You may notice if it rains, you got your taillight staying on or something like that. This is what is designed to help prevent that. So we'll just throw that on. We're going to take our boot. It's okay if a little bit of that silicone gets on that boot. It'll help to hold it on once it dries. Then we're just going to get it attached to our bracket. Now the last thing we need to do is take our fuse and put it in our fuse holder. Well guys, hopefully this video helped you decide whether or not the Roadmaster Diode wiring kit is right for you in your 2019 Ram 3500.